Hey runners, welcome to episode 2, and we're going to cover the hidden causes of why plantar fasciitis actually happens. So welcome back to The Runner Soul, the podcast where running meets science stride by stride. And as ever, I'm Sharon, your resident podiatrist, runner, and unapologetic fit nerd. All right, runners, let's lace up and let's dive into today's strides. So, to recap, last episode we set the foundation. We talked about what plantar fasciitis actually is, what's going on under your heel, and why it's such a common and misunderstood injury. But knowing what isn't enough. Today, we're asking the big question, why? Why does it happen? Heel pain doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. There are patterns, there are causes, there are symptoms, there are risk factors that set you up for plantar fasciitis. And the more you understand your personal why, the better you'll be at preventing it, or recovering if you're already dealing with it. So in this episode, we're going to explore the major culprits: training errors, footwear, biomechanics, lifestyle factors, and so much more. By the end, you will be able to spot which of these apply to you and maybe even connect some dots about your own heel pain hit story. Let's start with one of the biggest causes, training load. Plantar fasciitis often shows up when runners suddenly increase their mileage, their intensity, or their frequency. Maybe you signed up for a race and you crammed in long runs, or maybe you jumped from running twice a week to 5 days a week, or maybe your shoes are older than 12 months old. You'd be surprised. I've spoken to so many people. I say, how old are your training shoes? And they say,
not that old. They're about 5 years old now.
So no, your shoes won't be able to give you shock absorption and protection. Your plantar fascia, it's strong, but it adapts slowly. So if you overload it too quickly, those tiny little fibers at the heel attachment can start to fray. Think of it like baking bread. If you've ever baked bread, well, you've probably seen your grandma bake bread. You can't rush the process. If you crank the oven too hot too fast, the outside burns while the inside is still raw. Training is a bit the same. You've got to build load gradually so your tissues adapt. And it's not just running. A sudden spike in standing, like going from a desk job to working long retail shifts, or say working as a chef in a kitchen, that can also trigger it. What about footwear fails? Shoes can make or break your plantar fascia. Worn out shoes that have lost their cushioning, unsupportive flats, or minimalistic shoes without proper transition, they can all overload the fascia and not support it enough. Here's a common scenario I see. A runner switches to a brand new shoe with a lower heel to toe drop, thinking it'll help him run more naturally. But the calves and the fascia weren't ready for all that load shift. So within weeks, boom, heel pain. Even non-runners aren't immune. Standing all day in unsupportive sandals, walking around the house barefoot on the tile floors can strain the fascia over time. Your feet need the right balance of cushioning and support, especially if you're prone to plantar fasciitis. We're now on to your biomechanical quirks. Let's talk about the way your body moves. Move it, move it. You got to keep your body moving, moving. Some people are born with foot structures that put more stress on the plantar fascia. Flat feet can overstretch it. High arches can make it too tight. Tight calf muscles reduce ankle flexibility, forcing the fascia to take extra loads. Even weakness in your hips or your glutes can play a role. When those muscles don't stabilize your stride, your foot mechanics compensate. And guess who pays the price? Yep, your plantar fascia. That poor plantar fascia. It's a chain reaction. Everything from your hips down to your toes is connected. That's why plantar fasciitis, it isn't just a foot problem, it's often a whole kinetic chain issue. Lifestyle and risk factors. Beyond running and biomechanics, there are other factors that raise your risk. Standing jobs, for instance. Professionals like nurses, teachers, factory workers, hours on your feet equals more strain, especially if you're standing on surfaces such as concrete and tiles. These are materials, the man-made materials, and not what Mother Nature wanted us to walk on. And then there's the weight changes. So carrying extra loads, whether from your body weight, pregnancy, increases the stress on the fascia. Age also plays a role. Plantar fasciitis seems to be most common between the 40 and 60 age group, when that tissue resilience naturally decreases. And then recovery habits. Poor sleep, not stretching, or ignoring early signs can all add fuel to the fire. Sometimes it's not like one big cause, it's several small factors stacking up together until the fascia says, enough, I've had enough. And then you get the pain, and that's just your body letting you know that some part of you isn't happy and there's something going on that you need to fix. Case study time. Let me give you a real world example. I once worked with a teacher. Well, not once actually. I have many teachers that I work with. We'll call him Mark. He developed plantar fasciitis after the school year started. He wasn't a runner, but he went from a summer of relaxing at home to suddenly being on his feet 8 hours a day on hard floors. And in worn out dress shoes, which he kept for work. And within a month, he was hobbling by the end of each school day. For Mark, the why wasn't training loads, it was lifestyle loads. Once we figured that out, we were able to work on his footwear, get breaks during the day, and we did some calf stretches. The pain eased and he avoided what could have turned into a long-term issue. And if your occupation is such that you have to wear certain shoes and you feel like the shoes are the problem, speak to your podiatrist, because we can come to a compromise and we can write a letter to your employer making suggestions of footwear that will still be compliant but that will have more support, just so that you can get on top of the plantar fasciitis and heal it much quicker. Myth busting and the causes. Before we wrap up, let's bust a couple of myths about the causes of plantar fasciitis. Myth 1. It's only runners who get it. Wrong. Anyone on their feet a lot can develop it. What's myth 2? It's just bad luck. Nope. There are clear patterns and risk factors we've talked about today, which will put you at risk. Myth 3. If you get plantar fasciitis once, you'll always have it. No, not true. With the right strategies, you can recover and prevent it from coming back altogether. Here's an analogy to help you understand. Think of your plantar fascia like a bridge. A bridge is designed to handle a certain amount of traffic, but if you suddenly flood it with too many cars or heavy loads, or if the support beams aren't aligned properly, stress fractures will appear on the bridge. Plantar fasciitis is that bridge under stress. So too much load, poor support, or both can irritate it. Recap time. All right, let's recap today's key points. Plantar fasciitis often starts with training errors. Too much, too soon. Footwear plays a huge role. The wrong shoes or worn out shoes can set you up for trouble. Biomechanics matter. Flat feet, high arches, tight calves, or weak hip flexors can all overload the fascia. And sometimes, unfortunately, our biomechanics is a familial thing. You know, it's been passed down by our family tree. So you might find if you have flat feet, your dad had flat feet, or your mum had flat feet, or your brothers and sisters have similar feet. Lifestyle and risk factors. From standing jobs to weight changes. These can all quietly pile up like dominoes until heel pain strikes. So the big takeaway from this episode is heel pain isn't random, and it's certainly not normal. There's usually a why behind it all. And if you can find your why, you can start to address it and nip it in the bud, hopefully for good. Who knew plantar fasciitis could be so complicated? But now that you know the hidden causes, here's the question. How do you know for sure that what you're dealing with is plantar fasciitis and not something else? And that leads us perfectly into next episode. Because now that we know what it is and we know the how, the next question is, why does plantar fasciitis actually happen? So in our next stride, we'll be digging deep into the risk factors, the things that load your fascia a lot beyond its limits, and why some runners get it while others don't. So lace up, guys, because next episode is all about uncovering the causes. So don't miss it. And hey, I'd love for you all to join our little community on Facebook. It's a great place where you can share your stories, connect with real people, and keep the conversation going beyond the podcast. I'll drop the link in the show notes so you can join us there. Until then, run smart, recover well, and keep looking after those feet.